Hey guys, today we have something a little bit different. We're going to be taking a look at the performance difference between the two handheld versions of MGS3. Normal videos will return next week, but for now it's time for Metal Gear HD versus Metal Gear 3D. We'll start with the opening video. Since this is being rendered live, it makes a good starting benchmark. I'm using an FPS counter on both systems. They don't seem to update as fast as the kind you'd find in a PC game, so I'm guessing they just count the frames every few seconds and give you an average, but that still works for what we're doing. And yes, technically both systems support some form of direct capture, either it's streaming from the new 3DS or using a PSTV with something to disable HDCP, but in this video I wanted raw performance from both handhelds. No extra unnecessary background tasks, and nothing that would mess with the results. So both units are running at stock clock speeds, and while I am testing on a new 3DS XL, since this is an older game, it's limited to just using the old 3DS clock speeds. As for cutscene performance, we do see some small dips on both systems. Just about any time the Vita drops, the 3DS will drop too, but it's much less noticeable in the Vita, as it stays at the full 30 FPS most of the time. The 3DS on the other hand seems to drop quite a bit more frequently, with the average FPS being around 15, yet it seems to be trying to target 20. We see jumps all over the place from as low as about 11 to as high as 17 to 18 in a few spots. It may have been better for them to just lock it at 15 for a more consistent presentation. But these are just cutscenes. They tend to have more action and more detailed animations and effects than standard gameplay. So let's jump into the first area and see how the game performs. And surprisingly, both versions of the game run very consistently. The Vita version stays at 30 FPS even in light combat, and the 3DS version seems to be pretty stable around 15. And when I cross a bridge or enter some areas without high grass or enemies, it can even jump to around 20. But it won't stay there. Even more complex areas still offer a stable frame rate on both systems. I played on hard and triggered an alert just to see if the extra guards would be enough to drop the frame rate, but nope, it's still pretty stable. The 3DS version does rise at some points, like where I sneak up on the guard, but for the most part it's still around 15. Now on to overclocking. I doubt the Vita needs it, but here it is clocked at max. So far, no change, but the game was running smoothly before. And the 3DS is running in new 3DS mode with a faster clock speed and more cache, and we're finally seeing a stable 20 FPS. So I'm guessing the frame rate might be capped. The overclocking is most noticeable in cutscenes. Remember how the 3DS could barely maintain 15 FPS? Well, now it can run them at about 18 to 20. It takes about a second for the FPS counter to refresh, but the change is noticeable. I'll keep swapping in between stock speed and full speed, so you'll be able to see the difference better. The 3DS still drops frames, but with the faster speed, it doesn't seem to drop under 15. As for the Vita, it was pretty stable before, but pretty much now all the frame dips are eliminated. This was a pretty small test, but I hope you found it helpful. In conclusion, the Vita does actually benefit from running the game at full speed, but you'll have to decide whether a handful of frames is worth losing some battery life. As for the 3DS version, I played it through it all the way on an old 3DS, and I do consider it playable, but if you have a modded new 3DS, I definitely suggest running it at full power. The 3DS version does have some interesting changes that the Vita version lacks, and I don't think it actually looks that bad in person, despite it missing some visual effects. But that's a discussion for another video. So if you would like to see a feature discussion or a graphic comparison, let me know in the comments. Maybe even an emulator comparison, 1080p PS2 versus 1080p 3DS. Who knows? Anyway, I thought I'd make a quick fun MGS3 video, as I've never covered it on my channel before. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
You're from the Ocelot unit of Spetsnaz. Huh. What's a crew soldier doing here? Soldier. He's the Ocelot commander.
That's Major Ocelot to you.